Hello. This is just to demonstrate the M2M token specifically for how we can tie an M2M to a specific organization. This is a new feature that we add in the platform, and today I'm gonna demonstrate this. So first, when you have an API gateway or you build your backend code to provide API and you want to secure this APIs, you can use a tool like Auth0 where Auth0 can issue a token with a specific like client ID and secret using client credential flow. The application can request that token, it will send it to the API. The API can verify the token and then based on the scopes and the verification of the token, it can serve back the data. In Auth0, we took this step further. So we have organization and we can actually make um, each token be tied to a specific organization. So only that organization can be able to use that token. So let's see how we can do this. So we're going to do it step by step from scratch. So first I'm going to create an API. So let's say you have an API gateway or your code is providing API. So you need to build a presentation for this API in Auth0. So you're gonna go ahead and play it here. So my API names is Power API. All right, so I'm gonna name it Power API. And you need to do the identifier, which is basically the URL for the API. So I'm gonna do, let's say, power.com, right? So that's going to be your API. And then you're going to use an Auth0 to issue the token for you. And that's the token signature. I'll leave everything as it is. And I'm going to create. All right. And once you create your API, there's a lot of settings you can play with. I'm not going to go through all the settings, but the main ones I want to highlight is the token lifetime. So you can control how long the token can live before you request a new one. Um, and the other thing is you want to enable the RBAC and adding permissions. So this is basically if you're using this API through OpenID Connect and the logged in user has a role, you can add the permission of those roles inside the token and you can use this to call your backend API. All right. The next thing you want to do as well is to allow adding the permission that you want your API will use. So when your application that has the right permission or scope, permission or scope, they're basically the same thing. Your API can verify this before serving to the client. So I'm going to add just two basic permissions here. So I'm going to do read data. I'm going to say here's to read data. So that's one permission, and the other permission is to data. Data. Oh, data. All right. So I have two permission got added here. Okay, so now once we finish the presentation for this API, the next step is to go on the application and to create an M2M application to use this API. All right, so I'm gonna go under application and I'm going to click on create a new application. I'm gonna name it Power API app. Right? I'll name it application, make it easier. All right. So Power API application, and I'm gonna make it machine to machine application. Click create. I'm gonna select the API, which is the one we just created. So it's gonna be here, should be here somewhere. Power API. So I'll choose that one. And this application will have the two scope for this. So this application, anyone who use the client ID client credential of those will get those scopes to call this API. And I'm gonna click authorize. And now we have this application get created. The next step is how we can assign this Power API application to specific organizations. So you don't need to create separate apps per org. It's the same app that you can grant it or remove it for organization. So to do this, the first thing you want to do, you go on the API tab and you go on this application Power API, and I'm gonna click on down here and I'm gonna say this is required to be accessed through organization. So if I did not add this, the difference is if I went back to the other browser, so this is the API, this is the client credential flow. I do it, which uses client ID, client credential. If I did not include required, so it can be option or none, that means you can call the API with only client ID and client credential. You do not need the organization field here. If I made organization field required, that means this is only get called through organization. So I'm going to make it required right now and I'm gonna click update. All right. So when I do that, what's gonna happen behind the scene is if I try to use this API right now, so let's actually try to do that right now. So I'm gonna click on clients, get the client ID. So I'm gonna add the client ID here. All right, and then I'm gonna do the client secret. So I'm gonna add the client secret here, and I'm gonna do the API I want, which is the one that we were just added here. It's this one. So I'm going to use that API in the audience, and I'm using the client credential flow. I'm going to remove the organization tab. Sorry, let me just copy this. Here we go. So I'm removing it, and let's try to call this with our organization. So it shows me organization is required. That means this API need to be assigned to an organization to be called. So let's do that as a next step. So here on my tab, I have two organizations. So I have the first one is ABC and ADT. So let's assign it to ABC and not assigning it to ADT. So I'm going to go under ABC, under machine to machine access, and I'm going to click add access. And I'll choose right now the one that let's search for it. All right, so can find it. Let's actually just look for it this way. I may not have the right name. There you go. So I'm gonna choose that one right now, which is the one that we're using. And I'm gonna say yes, save. So that means this API got assigned to this ABC organization. So let's try that one more time now. So I'm going back here, click on the organization ID, and here we're gonna add this organization ID of ABC. And let's try to call this now. And you can see here, I actually got an access token because I'm adding the right organization. Since this API is not with the other organization, so let's try ADT organization ID now. And I'm going to try that right now here. Click send. And you can see I do not have permission because this client credential is not assigned to an organization. So you do not need to create separate apps per org. You can have only one app and you can grant it or revoke it from specific organization. That was just a quick demo to show the M2M token and the new feature of assigning an M2M application to a specific organization. Thank you.